Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Open Office Hours. I am Crystal Hinkle. I'm part of the team here at Syncro. I'll let the ladies introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, it's Tatiana. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Brandy. Nice to see you guys today.
So nice to see everyone. We missed you guys last week. Those of you that celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Otherwise, for everyone, we just missed you guys. So we're so happy to be back. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, I'll give my normal spiel. We use the Q&A to kind of filter through questions. It's easier for us to organize than the chat. You will see us send some messages via chat, whether it's a knowledge-based article, and it's worth noting that the chat disappears when it's done. So make sure you click on those links or they will go away once we're all wrapped up. And those of you, of course, that are joining us for a second, third, 10th time, thank you so much. We really enjoy these. We love hanging out with you all. You always ask such great questions, and these questions can be anything from how to more of those deep dive, intricate workflow style questions. And we're super excited because today we have a special guest that will be joining us and doing a deep dive on SNMP, which we know everyone has been requesting, and we're so happy. So I'd like to introduce to you Frank. There he is. Hi, Frank.
Hey everyone. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming out. I'll just go ahead and I'll jump right into the deep dive so we don't spend too much time on this, but let's go ahead. All right, everyone see my screen? We're good. Okay. So I know it's a deep dive, but I just want to go over SNMP real quick, what it is, just in case anyone has any questions or not too familiar. Okay, so SNMP, it's basically a protocol that will collect information about devices on your network. So, and it will also, the protocol also modify information, and typically devices that support that are modems, routers, switches, printers, workstations. But for us, Syncro, we do not write to SNMP. So this section, modify information to change device behavior, we don't do that. We're just gathering information about these items. We're not changing anything. So how it works is Syncro devices will pull other network devices for SNMP information. Each Syncro device can pull information. You don't need to download any other piece of software to do this. All your Syncro assets and devices are already ready to go if you have the Syncro agent installed. And what happens is the agent will pull the device for information, and it will take that device and display it on this related Syncro asset. So you can view information about those devices in real time, and you can also set up alerts based on those values. And in order to get this done, your prerequisites are a Syncro device needs to be on the same network as an SNMP device, and port 161, which is the normal SNMP port, needs to be reachable, and a supported version of SNMP has to be enabled and working on the SNMP device. And there are a few versions. There's 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2, there's no encryption. Version 2 supports 64-bit counters, some bigger numbers. And 3 does support encryption and password authentication, but we do not support version 3 at this time. So we recommend that this is all done on the local network, a local trusted network. You don't open port 161 up on the internet where anyone can see it, because anyone that can get to that port and run SNMP walk will be able to view all your SNMP information. So just make sure this is all done on a local trusted network. And we'll be working with OIDs a lot. This is basically an address of where a certain piece of information lives. So for example, this is my router. If you type this in, you'll get the system temperature. This, you'll get the status of interface 7. Just trying to show there's like a wide range of information you can get. We don't support MIBs at this time. So you have to find the OID, and you and OIDs, the best way to find them is honestly to Google for them. There's this SNMP walk that can get you some information, but just going to show you the ID and the value, and that can be a little overwhelming. It's be hard to tell what that value means. But the manufacturer, a lot of time in the manuals will have it, online someone's compiled it. So that's the best place to find the OIDs. And let's jump into my test account now to kind of look at what you can do once you have this information. So all your SNMP devices will be assets in Syncro. So once you set up a device, let's take a look at my NAS, for example. So you'll create a asset in Syncro, and then once you're in there, there'll be an SNMP details tab. And you'll enable SNMP, and then you get this information here. So you put it in the host, where it lives, SNMP port, which Syncro device is monitoring it, SNMP version, and then community. And then here you'll get all the information from the OIDs. As you type it in, they'll show you the live information. So what this looks like on the asset is here. For example, I have quite a few. So this gives me the status of my CPU and chassis fan, what the temperature is, if there's an upgrade available, what version I'm on. So this enables to take, before would have been just kind of a dumb asset that would just have the asset name, who it belongs to, and a ticket log. Now you can get all this live information. As you can see, it's updated pretty regularly. Every few seconds, it'll pull up fresh information. And then what's exciting, let's go look at other device, kind of get an example of different things you can do. Here is my router. I have a bunch of OIDs here. Yeah, so you can get so much information about the items. You can get, like here, it's my model number, my version number of the OS, and get the CPU load for different cores. I can get status information on every interface. I can get my signal quality, how many people are logged onto the Wi-Fi. I can get so much information. And then the best part is you can set up different thresholds and create RMM alerts. So for any of these, let me get into the edit screen. So you can see here. Find one with a threshold here. This one, for example, once you put your information in, you can set a threshold. So here, this will retrieve my CPU load for my second core. So if it's greater than 80% for over 15 minutes, it'll create an RMM alert. And then here you can add custom text to the RMM alert. And you can really use this to manage just about every device on your network that has SNMP. For example, if I wanted to, on my interface, if I had, let's say, a port that you never want to unplug in your router, for me, status 1 means it's active, status 3 is disabled, and status 2 is not active, means nothing's plugged in. So I could say if this ever becomes 2, send me an RMM alert right away. If someone unplugged that plug, I need to know about it. Send me an RMM alert. If my signal quality got below a certain percentage for a certain amount of time, I want to know about it. Send me an alert. And then we have, so you can really fine tune that. And I also have one more, it's a little different. I have a Raspberry Pi here. So Linux also has a library of OIDs you can load here. So here it tells me what my version is, and it tells me how much memory I'm using, tells me how much disk space I have left, and I can also set RMM alerts for all of this information. So I can know right away if there's something I need to handle and take care of. And so as you see, like my router had a ton of OIDs. So we have recipes to handle that. Let's say you always deploy the same router or the same switches or the same access points, and you don't want to go through and write those out every time. We have recipes. So you'll set these up for, just like setting up the item. You put everything you want in here. And then what you'll do is select the asset type. So when you create a new asset of the same type, that will be this recipe will be available for that item, that asset. So you don't have to do this over and over again. Just do it one time, and you can apply this to your assets right away. And then you can also, as these public links, you can come here and you can also share a public link, and you can share this recipe. A lot of people have been asking about a community library because it would be super convenient, because it does take a lot of time to research and find the OIDs, what they do, kind of where you want your thresholds at. So it's something we've heard a lot about, and hopefully we can bring it in the future. We're still talking about that and considering that, but until that happens, we do have a user that put together their own library, and they gave us permission to share this. So here, and I can share this link in the chat. So here there's a bunch of different recipes already done. The 2 Microtech recipes that I made myself are here. You can see there's a bunch of unified, Dell and HP servers, Synology, some printers. So it's a pretty good start, and you can feel free to pull from here. It'd be great if you can contribute to this too. So this is here, and I'll make sure to share this link. And then one more cool thing. Here, I'm going to filter by my SNMP enabled devices. So here is a Syncro device. So you can enable SNMP on Syncro devices also, because Windows does support SNMP. So if you go here, this is just a workstation VM, so there's not too much information you can get from SNMP. But here's some. We'll pull up here. But for servers, I'll just show you real quick the recipe that is posted in that in this community library to see what kind of information you get from servers, which will really help manage servers. So you get server health, system fans, temperature, your RAID health, power supply. So you can, and the Dell one has even more. You can see these are all set to alert. So as soon as the overall health, the server says it's not okay, you'll get an alert. Your system fans stop, you get an alert. So this will really enhance what you could do with a Syncro device with just the Syncro agent alone. Because now you can also pull in a bunch of information from SNMP, and you can create live alerts. And then you can also take those alerts and apply automated remediation to those. So you can do create tickets when certain alerts go off, email people, post to your Slack or Teams channels. So this will really adds you a lot of options on how you manage devices in your network. Yep. So if anyone has any questions, just let me know.
This is awesome. I actually learned a lot from that. So thank you very much, Frank. And we do have a few questions in here that I'd love for you to kind of filter through. First question is, how much load will it put on the agent machine, like the actual Syncro agent, to be able to monitor SNMP devices?
I don't have an exact number on that. It's not very resource intensive though. I know my VM was running, it runs an agent, and it barely has any resources. It's a very low powered VM, and it runs it fine. Because we just check every once in a while. It's just probably uses as much resources as any other checks that our agent does.
Awesome.
So
and this might be a 2-part question, but I'm going to start with the first one. What are the requirements for the Syncro asset that is reporting on whichever SNMP? I think you might have said that in your slide.
Yeah, there's no set hardware requirements. As long as you can run the agent, you're fine. But you have to be on the same network. In theory, you could be on a different network and do port forwarding and stuff, but for the security, I would not recommend that. But hardware requirements, if you could run this, if you can support the Syncro agent, then you can support SNMP also.
Cool. Kind of a follow-up from Austin is, mainly I'm wondering if I can deploy something like Pi with some flavor of Nix on it in a customer environment and have that be the Syncro asset that will report on the SNMP devices I'm trying to monitor.
Got it. So they want the Raspberry Pi because it's like low power, it's always on to be the monitoring device. No, we can't do that. We'd have to have a Linux Syncro agent to do that.
See, I'm so happy you're here because I was like, I don't know. Okay, we've got a few more. So thanks for hanging out with us, Frank. One question, it seems hard to find OIDs for certain devices. I could not find anything useful for my brother's printer, and then he gives the model number. Is there a good place in general to find OIDs? Did you have a link, or did you mention a website?
Yeah, this one has some pre-built recipes. OIDs, they can be hard to find. I don't have a specific place because I've had to get them from multiple sources. I know my printer at home, I just have maybe the uptime and the device name because I couldn't really find any good library for it. It's like a cheaper printer and this wasn't there.
Got it.
Put that link in there.
Yeah, and I think I know you said you'll do that, but that definitely, it sounds like the community would love the link. Oh, did you just do it?
I just did it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
I think it just sent to the panelists, so I can copy and paste it and send it
Perfect.
over.
Okay, let's see here. So Shane is curious, and I know we've heard this a couple times. What do you recommend to help discover SNMP devices on the network using Syncro?
Yeah, we don't have any kind of network discovery for those devices, so we wouldn't have the ability to really do that within Syncro. You would need a different network scanning tool to find those first.
Yep. So if we have a small environment with just a single server that is on 24/7, can we have the server monitor itself via SNMP?
Yes. Let me share my screen again real quick because I should have went over that. That's recommended. I believe it's recommended or mandatory that a Syncro agent, if it's an SNMP device, that it monitors itself. So share my screen. So this is, minimize that. So this is the Syncro device that's also a SNMP device that's enabled. Yeah, so as you see, I'm just checking the localhost IP for the SNMP data. And this is a lot more secure because in Windows and the server, you can set to only allow SNMP queries from the localhost. That way other devices on the network won't be able to get SNMP details from it.
Awesome. And this is great from Evan. He says, Passler SNMP tester is free and lets you do an SNMP walk, which can help whittle down OIDs for various devices. So that's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I think we're kind of winding down on questions. So Frank's going to be with us probably just for another few minutes. So if you have any SNMP questions, put those in the Q&A now, because I think we only have precious Frank time for a little bit longer. So we very much appreciate this for sure.
Yes, this has been super, super helpful, and I know our users have been asking for it for a while. Randy did have a question about if, hope you clicked record. We did record this session. I promise it's only happened once, I think, but I just posted in the chat the link to our YouTube channel. So typically when we finish these on Fridays by afternoon, we do post them to the YouTube channels. Sometimes it's Monday, but we can definitely ask about posting into the Facebook group as well. But I wanted to drop the link to the YouTube just in case.
I know I read that, Randy, and had like a mini heart attack. So.
Me too. I went and looked for the red recording. And just so you know, if this is the first time you've joined us, which it would be, you know, if I saw SNMP deep dive, I'd be like, yes, I'm going to that, even if I've never been. We post all of them on Fridays to the YouTube channel.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, let's see. Nathan says you can also find OIDs in the MIBS. Most vendors have MIBs, however, not that easy to read. So again, I don't know what that acronym is meaning, but just
There's also a community script that I put together, SNMP walk, where you can just run the script. You'll put the SNMP device's IP address and the name for it, just for the file name to help things out. That will actually run SNMP walk, and it will attach the results to the asset that you ran it on as a CSV file. So you can run it from a community script we have too.
Oh,
To
sweet.
find OID values.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's in the community script library too, like public, everyone can grab it.
Yeah, it's just called SNMP walk.
Awesome. SNMP walk, Shane. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure we're getting through all of our SNMP before we, I think so. Oh, Matthew says that walk script works awesome, Frank, which is great. I think I remember when you did that. That was awesome. All right. Well, I think the SNMP questions are winding down. So, Frank, I know if you have to run, feel free. But thank you so much for joining us
No
today.
problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
I could stay for the 10 minutes in case I can help you with any other questions that
Okay.
are not SNMP related.
Great.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I see some flowing in. Does anyone want to grab any of these? I'll take the top one from Shane, just asking about the Linux agent. I think as far as I know, I think we've got a focus on the Mac agent right now and kind of making sure that we've got a solid build there. And then once that's done, that's probably, what we'll look at. But I don't have a time frame at this point.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you, Frank. I have a question here from Larissa. Question is, we used a contract to override desktop support to $0 an hour. The client also has prepaid hours for the month set for on-site support. On their invoice, desktop support is eating away at their prepaid hours, even though it's at $0. Have I done something wrong? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you guys over in our admin section. If you head over to your inventory, and we take a look at the preferences, I believe in here you have the ability to create prepaid hour exempt labor. And so if you do that, I would use this for every other labor type that you don't want to count against those prepaid hours, if that makes sense. So right now, as it's set, I'll link, we recently did a deep dive on how prepaid hours work within Syncro. So I'll drop that into the chat box for you guys, but I'll show you real quick. If we pull up the customer's profile here, anytime you sell your customer prepaid hours, it's going to populate their prepaid hour balance here. And then on any ticket for any labor type specifically, it's always going to counterbalance against these prepaid hours, unless, again, you say you want to list which prepaid hours you want or which labor you want to be exempt to be pulling from that prepaid hours balance. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Again, I'll drop that link. It's a quick 5 to 10 minutes of that video. And if you have additional questions beyond that, Larissa, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome, thank you. And Frank, we do have another SNMP question. Are there any plans to allow more than one agent to monitor the SNMP devices?
Yeah, we're going to have some improvements coming. I'm not sure if this is in it because they're still deciding. This hasn't been finalized what's going to be added. I know I personally have requested this because I'm like, what if the main one's down? Then what happens? But yeah, for right now, you just have to make sure it's a device that's always up and running on the network.
Awesome, thank you. And then Ari also has a question about is SNMP version 3 compatibility on the roadmap?
Same as before, it hasn't been finalized, but this one's been asked a lot. So, and it's something I would like to see on there too, but I can't say for certain.
Awesome. I'm going to throw this one out there because every time I try to explain this, I think I massively mess it up. So can you explain the difference between direct and relayed in Syncro Live, Frank, by chance?
Yeah, so when we set the connection, it's peer-to-peer. So when we can't, that doesn't happen, for whatever reason, then it will go to a relay server. And that's why the connection slows down, because you have another server you're both connecting to make the connection happen.
See, that was much better than what I normally do.
Now we know. This is awesome. I am just so grateful that you're here, Frank. I mean, we do deep dives ourselves sometimes, but this is like above and beyond. So I really appreciate you being here, and we're learning ourselves as well, which is great.
Glad to be here. I have a QuickBooks Online question I can take right now. It's from Randy. He said, "How do I sync an item or more back from QuickBooks to Syncro? Newly entered items are missing in Syncro." Let me share my screen real quick. So at the bottom of QuickBooks settings, there is an import products from QuickBooks to inventory that should import anything missing. But to save steps, what you can do is if you enter the products in Syncro, when they're put on an invoice for the first time, they'll automatically sync to QuickBooks. You won't have to do double work. So we always recommend you make the changes first in Syncro and let them sync to QuickBooks.
See, that's awesome because Frank can show the QuickBooks settings, whereas typically when you guys ask QuickBooks questions in these, we're like, oh, send them to support. And then Frank gets them anyways, right?
Yeah, save us the ticket.
Let's see here. I'm just seeing another SNMP. Is there an option to do SNMP rights currently? I don't know what that means.
No, just read right now. We can't make any changes to SNMP.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
I have a question from Brianna. Hi, if there are multiple time entries on a ticket that span multiple dates, once those are added to an invoice, they all show up as ticket creation date instead of their respective dates. Is there a way to easily fix that or a way around this? So I'm actually not 100% sure. I'll double check on to see if there's a different tag that you can use in those line items, and I'll drop a link to that in the chat box once I have the answer for you.
Awesome, thank you. Ari says, any plans for improved structured documentation, or is the IT Glue integration closer to two-way? Last I checked earlier this year, it was only a pull from the Syncro integration. So really good question. We're happy to pass that along. Of course, I'm not quite sure what's on the roadmap in terms of our documentation and our knowledge base that you guys can use internally as well as for your customers. I will say with the IT Glue integration, and we can drop that KB, it's more so going to be like for on your asset detail page, there's going to be a link to the IT Glue instance. And then of course, if you delete the asset in Syncro, it's going to remain in IT Glue. It'll just, and it's not going to delete there, but it's more so just for like a link from one to the other. It's not going to be like a two-way documentation really.
Sweet. Okay. I'm seeing some questions flying in here. Whoever wants to go next. Frank, you got this one? Love it.
Yeah, let me just get to this part here. Okay, Christos want to know how you can manage passwords for customers. So let me go ahead and take that and share my screen real quick. So I have like overlapping windows on windows here. Okay, so you can set up under your contacts. If you come down here, you can set up credentials down here, and you can choose whether they're private or on the customer portal. For some reason, I can't click anything. But so you can set that up, and once they're there, the customer can view these credentials inside of their portal once they log in. So you can do contact by contact, and they can access them there inside of the portal. And you have to, in the App Center, you have to enable the password vault before that becomes available.
Cool. Okay. This is a good question. I think we get this often. Might be just a quick yes or no. If we trial QuickBooks integration with a trial QuickBooks license, once the trial is over, can we connect to a different account paid version and get all Syncro info from, let's say, August 1st? I know that when you switch QuickBooks licenses, I believe you have to, like, technical support has to reset that, like, that integration, and you have to start over. I just don't know if it would backdate Syncro's information. That I don't know. I'm not positive on that one. And maybe Frank, and I don't know if you want to take this, if you want to just maybe like respond. Larissa has a good question in here, and maybe you can help her out there.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at this also.
Cool.
Yeah, if I could get a ticket, look at the account. So the way it works, that messes a lot of people up. Every payments that are made in Syncro, they sync instantly to QuickBooks. But payments made in QuickBooks, they only sync once a day in the morning. So sometimes people think they haven't synced, and they'll make a payment in Syncro, and then the payment from QuickBooks will sync. Now you have two payments in Syncro. So I just want to double check if that's what's happening or if it's a more serious problem. So I would need, so if you want to send in a ticket and just kind of reference that, I can use that email and look at your previous ticket and get to the bottom of that.
Awesome. I wanted to follow up real quick, Brianna, on your question. I found the KB that I was looking for, specific to showing the ticket timer date instead of just the general date. If you guys head over to your admin section and then under your ticket preferences, and then make sure you click add additional settings, because a lot of people miss that. The additional settings will open up the second half of your ticket preferences. So in here, you have the ability to add a bunch of different tags on two separate items, line items here. You can customize text for ticket timer charges or ticket charges. And so this is the line I would use for you. I'll drop this KB here into the chat box for you, but this should give you the ticket timer date, and give you, if you're working the same ticket across the span of multiple days, this should be the tag that works for you. So go ahead, I'll drop that into the chat box for you.
All right, I'm going to grab a couple. Randy, I'm not positive yet. Randy wants to know if we've got any new options that we're adding to the Zapier integration. So I'm not positive yet on that one, Randy. And then let's see here. Matthew says, would like to manage device system tray menu like we do patching policy. With the patching policy, we can make a change one place and it will be changed for any policy that uses it. So I like that a lot, because right now in the system tray, I like that feature request, because right now in the system tray icon, like the one thing that like if you do update is like the agent contact form. If you update an agent contact form that's applied to multiple policies, it will update across multiple policies. But I can definitely see, especially the more that we add to that system tray as options, I can definitely see some value there for sure. Cool. I think I'll let other people talk now.
I'll take two more, then I gotta head out. Mitchell asked, so faster options only for contact, not necessarily for a specific asset or customer. On the customer, go back to sharing my screen, there is a credentials tab for the overall customer, and those could be put public on the customer portal. But this will be for like all the contacts, and they'll be able to see this, but these are more granular per contact. Only this contact can see their credentials. So it depends on who you want to make the credentials visible to. And then the other question was about zero syncs. Let me find it. Oh, Jordan asked, they've had continued sync issues with Zero and Syncro. The most popular one I see is the beginning of the month when a bunch of recurring invoices go through. We're having some not automatically syncing to Zero, and then you have to go ahead and like manually refresh them. The developers did identify the problem. What's happening is everyone's doing recurring invoices at the same time on like the first and last day of the month, and we're just hitting the Zero's rate limit. We're just saying too much information to them. So they're building on a way to like stagger this and to avoid that problem. So we are actively working on that. And I'm gonna head out, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Frank. Come back every week. Thank you.
All right. Looks like we've got a few other questions in here. So that was awesome. First of all, I definitely learned a lot. Matthew's asking any update on allowing the client to do Windows feature updates, not having to run a script. We haven't had any success with the script. No, and as far as what we've been told is there's really no RMM that runs these very nicely, just natively in the system. So it would be via scripting. We do have a lot of you guys on the line today. So if anyone has a recommendation or what they're using, I've just heard that people are using the script. It's not a Syncro provided script or anything. You can Google a feature update script, but I would recommend doing that. And again, if anyone has any advice, you guys are always super helpful in here. Feel free to let us know so we can pass that along to Matthew. And then I also see Clarence's question on, is there any documentation for webhook notifications? I didn't see much in the Notification Center help page. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. There's a few different things in here. So one, I was just looking in our knowledge base for different webhooks, and it really depends on which one you're using. Like if you're using Microsoft Teams, if you're using Slack, but in the actual documentation on how you can set up notifications is, or excuse me, in the admin section, you'll just go into the notification center and then click on whichever technician you want to set these notifications up for. You'll be able to choose, of course, based on the over 200 different things you can get notified on. If you want it to be a webhook or if you want it to post to Teams, whatever it is in here. But definitely in our knowledge base. And if you want to drop in which one you're using, then I'd be happy to pass this along. But this can also be found in our help center, which is accessible from your training tab inside of Syncro as well.
Awesome. I apologize. I just realized I wasn't unmuted. So hopefully everything's okay. I had a question here from Ari. It says, I was looking again in the docs for master tag list. I'm still not seeing it in the documentation. I know I've asked for this before, and I know many tags are listed in templates, but a master documented list of all tags, where they can be used, a description of the field to pull that they pull from, etc., would be extremely useful. I completely agree. We actually created a update just very, very recently, literally 2 days ago, where we published a new tag that can be used in the ticket templates. Called ticket status. I know a lot of you guys were asking about that, and so that's now readily available. So I just posted that again for the team to use. I would love to see something like that so that we have that as a resource for you guys. And then Manuel says, Frank, can you demo how to use the SNMP walk script? So unfortunately, I feel like this happens sometimes. Maybe when we get off of our open office hours, sometimes questions come after, and that's okay. We are hoping that Frank will join us again, but if you guys search, if you haven't access to the community libraries before, and while I know that you have, but for those of you that are new here or haven't seen this previously, we do have a huge community script library within Syncro. You do have to go over to scripts, and then it's actually kind of hidden. It's under view. And then if you access the community script library and you search for that SNMP in here, and it should, most people that write scripts create an awesome how-to kind of up here in the beginning. So that's how you would access it. Unfortunately, Frank is no longer in our session today. So we'll have to just kind of go through these instructions, and hopefully he'll join us for a future session.
Okay. Larissa just says, follow up on the exempt products. So we were just having a side conversation while Frank was talking earlier about prepaid hours, and you can absolutely have hours that are prepaid exempt, so they do not pull from your prepaid hours for a customer. So this type of thing is going to be a global setting because it has to do with products, but you could have different products for a different customer. So for example, I could have labor rate for Larry that's prepaid exempt. You would just have to create a product that made the most sense to you. So you're not able to go in on a customer and say, you know, these labor rates are going to be prepaid exempt, but you could create like, you know, a separate product for that particular customer. That's how I would handle it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Brandy. I will grab the next one here. Question from Justin. Does Syncro have the ability to copy the data in our existing instance into a new demo account so that we can do testing in a demo environment, but with a point in time copy of our live data, or would this be a bad idea for reasons I'm not thinking about? This actually gets requested pretty often. Sometimes people want to like copy their Syncro account, duplicate it to another one, make changes there, things like that. Unfortunately, it's not currently available. I do think people ask for like a sandbox version of Syncro to just play and run a ton of, you know, scripts and tests and things like that. Unfortunately, it's not currently available. I will pass that along to the team for you just so that they're aware.
Awesome. Okay. Russell wants to know, can I take ticketing live and then take billing live and then another module? I'm feeling overwhelmed thinking I need to get everything working. So when, I mean, everything's going to technically be live, but that doesn't mean you have to use everything right out of the gate. I know we have folks that kind of do it in sections as well. And so you could either just like mentally be doing it in sections, or you could go to your admin section and remove some of the tabs and things like that that you don't want to be even thinking about or looking at first. So like you could just as easy, if you're like, hey, I don't even want to like think about invoicing quite yet, you could go to your admin section, you could hop into tabs customization, and you could just kind of like ignore the things that you don't want to be thinking about. You could do that, and I know folks do, but Syncro is super powerful, and everything does, you know, it links together so nicely that sometimes, I will say, sometimes it's in the long run maybe better to just like combine it all together, but everyone's very different, and I think whatever works for you, you feel free to do whatever works, and it's flexible. And awesome. We're letting Frank know how everyone loves this SNMP walk script because it's awesome. And so happy to hear that you guys have been using it often.
And he said, of course it works because he wrote it. So
gotta add that part in there. All right, I'll stop sharing.
Awesome. Okay, another request here from Randy specific to the tags. He says on tags, it would be nice to have a searchable dropdown rather than a pages long list to me, with help on each one detailed as well. Feature requests. Yes, I will definitely pop that in there for you.
awesome, thank you. And then a question in here regarding how do you get a new custom asset field to show on existing devices? So really good question. Let me just share my screen, and this is going to actually affect if you added a new customer custom field, it would show up on previous customers. If you added a new contact custom field, it's going to show up as well. But if you go into the admin section and then you go to customers, and then you go to asset custom fields, you're first going to want to select which type of asset it is. So if it is just a standard, you know, a server workstation, it has a Syncro agent installed, you'll just come in here to manage fields, and you can go ahead and add any fields in here. When you do this, it is going to apply to any previous devices that are Syncro devices, if you will. So you can definitely do that. And then I just want to make a note here, because I do get quite a few questions about secret not being an option in your account. In order to get secret or encrypted custom fields, you will first need to go into the App Center, and then you'll scroll almost all the way down to the bottom to Password Vault. It is included in the subscription. There's no additional cost, but you will need to go ahead and set this up before that is an actual option for custom fields to be encrypted. So just wanted to share that.
Awesome. I'll grab one here at the top. Question from Clarence regarding webhooks. I've looked at the documentation, not much help. We want to get the webhooks to work with GLIP. It is a Slack-like product from Ring Central. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll show you guys a couple different things in here of where I would think to put URLs. And so are the webhook URLs, and I'll share this with you. Hopefully this points you in the right direction. And if not, you can also reach out to our support team to see if there's anything else that they can add beyond what's in the documentation. So if we head over to the admin section, I opened up our notification center, and this is where you could set up a webhook URL. So whether that's to Zapier or anything else to create any automations, you could do things that way here. And then you can choose to get notifications right here when you select the event that's the most important to you, and you say how you want to be notified about it. That probably was covered in the documentation. So I'll show you two others too. And these are specific examples pertaining to Teams and Slack, which we do directly integrate with. So with automated remediation, you could set any condition here and then tell Syncro you want it to respond by either posting to Teams or to Slack. And again, you would just put in the webhook URL here. Again, with this one, if it's a different product than Slack, I don't know if this webhook URL will work here, but I would either test that or reach out to our team. So again, testing in the automated remediation, how you get here the fastest is probably if you go to the alerts section and then just click manage automated remediation and build it out that way. And then the last one I'll show you is within our ticket automations. You can here say post to Teams, post to Slack, kind of in the same idea there. So hopefully that is helpful to you.
Cool. I am going to grab this one. Is there a report I can run for a customer that shows which contact under that customer submitted a ticket? Or is there another way they can see this information without reviewing all the tickets? They want this information for their billing purposes. So one report that I was just going to show here. And of course, this means that the contact, I mean, you have to have the contact created as a contact in Syncro. And if you do, then if you run the customer detail report, I'll show you this really quick. And I don't know if we have a ton of contacts within our demo account, but I know that in this report, if you scroll down, you can see if a specific contact that is in the system created that ticket, it will be here in this report. So I think that might be the best way. You can filter by time frame, but not. I think the other question was can see information without reviewing all the tickets. So it's going to be all the tickets, but you can date range it and see it that way. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And then Christos wants to know, is the time spent supporting via Syncro Live logged as actual support time? Does it show in reports? Also, we use TeamViewer and it seems we cannot integrate. We have a premium subscription, but what is needed for the integration is not available to us. Interesting. Okay, so I know, I think it's like what, the corporate version of TeamViewer, right? Corporate?
Yeah.
So it does have to be the corporate tier. So I don't know if, I don't know.
It's like their highest
yeah.
tier, their most expensive one. I know that.
Yeah. So we do integrate with both Splashtop and Screen Connect, and I think that those are both a little bit more affordable and still really great products as well. But what I was going to show you, there's a couple things. Now, on an actual asset, when you log into a Syncro Live session, it is not tracking time in a ticket. That it's not going to automatically do that. You can see like when a Syncro Live session has started. If you run an activity audit on this asset, you'll be able to see every time a Syncro Live session was started, but is not going to organically log time in a ticket or report this time anywhere other than show you that someone did start a session and it'll tell you who started it. Great feature request though, we get it often.
There is a report too that shows it. Did you mention that?
I mentioned the activity audit report.
Okay, yeah, and that will actually log Screen Connect, TeamViewer, and Splashtop sessions as well. Mm-hmm. And then with our new report, the Executive Summary Report Builder also shows those sessions.
Yep. Do they show the time in the?
They don't show the time. It shows the time that it was started. It doesn't show that time, but I will share, just since we don't have very many questions in here. One thing that I always recommend people do is, if the asset is listed here, of course, you could start the timer and then pop into a remote session just directly from the ticket. I think that's an easy way to do it. And you could even put, like before you start that timer, you could have a specific rate or note that just says, remote access, and then you start that, and then you launch a remote session, you end it, and then you hit stop. It's a little bit of a workaround, but since it doesn't show duration, that would be one way to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Question from Shane. I think you also wrote in that you said that this one was answered, but I just wanted to confirm. He says, I've tried to use create admin script with random password that is supposed to write into a custom asset field called local admin password. Doesn't seem to work. And again, also with your other question on the scripting, sometimes with things like this, if it's troubleshooting types of questions, I would reach out directly to support. If you can include as much information as possible, screenshots, timestamps, any logs, as much information you can give them to kind of reduce that back and forth that happens initially of, trying to pinpoint where the issue is, our team will take great care of you.
Yeah, and I think that goes with the rest of the error that you were receiving. Definitely send that over to support. And then just while I'm unmuted, Ari just has a tip for you guys. So you can always also just manually add to the TeamViewer ID field, and it works with most versions. I'm using an old version of TeamViewer 12 and the integration works great once I populate the ID field. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Jason wants to know, when onboarding customers, is there a way to see new assets that show up a week or so after the main bulk? We have customers that keep having items show up after we thought we were done. So if you're meaning like if you've installed everything like with an MSI installer or something across like group policy or something like that, and then like a week later they add another laptop, or they add, right now, like we don't have a way of like monitoring the network to see when new assets show up on the network. We don't have a way to do that at this point. If I'm answering your question properly, that's a feature request at this point. Sometimes I also get the question, and again, I don't know if this is your question or not, but it's worth saying that there is also like in your notification center, like if for any reason you like gave the executable to maybe someone on site and they were just like adding assets as they came in and maybe not telling you about that, you can set up an alert for like anytime a new asset shows up. You could, so you're notified on that. You can also like have to approve assets. So if you go to your admin section in the RMM settings, you can make it so that you have to approve when someone's adding an asset. So again, I kind of answered maybe a full scope of different meanings to that question. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Crystal. Super helpful. Question from Cindy. When I have CCs on a ticket, is there a way to see who responded to the ticket? I would assume that that would be visible. Honestly, I'll share this KB and I dropped it into the chat box as well. Because if you have an automatic ticket creation turned on and the customer also has someone CC'd there, it is possible for them to be CC'd, and then that person will be attached on the ticket as an additional CC. So you definitely can have multiple people added to the ticket correspondence. And I mean, honestly, I would just test that for mine. I don't have a way to take a closer look and see, impersonate someone who's CC'd and add it to this account. But I would assume that you should be able to see who responded to the ticket. So I'm confirming with our support team too, and I'll let you know if I hear anything different.
Wow.
Ooh.
7 minutes, no questions.
What am I gonna do? I need a Christmas. I need a holiday background. I don't have.
Yeah, this is not the actual size of my Christmas tree. Don't worry. Someone asked me yesterday during a team meeting. It is just a background. But I love the holidays.
That's a really good background though, by the way. Like it looks pretty legit. It looks like you have a huge like wreath or something.
Someone told me yesterday I looked like an ornament because the tree was so big.
I like the
I'm just here. Ticket automation options. Yeah.
Go ahead.
ticket automation options. Yes. And two, while we're doing this, like if there's certain things that you guys want to deep dive on, let us know, because we're really interested in that. We kind of ran out of ideas because there's so many different things inside of here, and we were like, well, I don't know what people think are, what you guys would like to hear more of. So ticket automations are awesome. And when we do demos, a lot of times we don't get to go very far in depth just because there's so much to see. So in the admin section, you can get to your ticket automations. I've seen these used so many different ways, and I've also been getting a lot of questions about business hours recently. And so this is one of those areas that you can use business hours too. But you might want to say, okay, a new ticket comes in and it's after business hours, right? So I could run this outside of business hours. I want to do this, this, and this. So sometimes if you have someone who's on call, I could have it email a custom email address if there was like a technician inbox that you guys used after hours or something like that. Or if I could also send, let's see, if this was waiting on a customer and the ticket hadn't been updated in 48 hours, right? So I'm waiting on the customer. I could actually just email the customer and I can use template tags and basically let them know I'm going to be closing the ticket. So there's quite a few different ways that you can use this. There's tons of different conditions and actions as well. But those are some of the most commonly used ways that I see them, or even like an SLA. New ticket comes in and it has a specific SLA. Let's do this, this, and this. But there's so many different things you guys can use. I actually had someone this morning say, if it's a certain ticket issue, can I link like a knowledge base article? And I was like, actually, you could have like a note. So you could create a private comment that says like, please see documentation, I don't know, XYZ. So you could absolutely do that. And then if there's a specific subject or ticket type, then you could have it just go ahead and post so the technician knows where to go look. Just some different things I've seen.
Awesome. I'm just documenting. We have some more deep dive requests. I have one from Shane about custom reporting. That's always a good one, as well as alerts automations, how people are generally using them. Always good. Definitely, Randy, I'll pass that along for you as well. I also have a quick update for the question about the CC'd person showing up. I have a response from our technical support team manager. He says hovering over one of the headers should show the address. We're looking to make improvements in this area as well, so stay tuned for that. I'm also confirming with Ruben on your question for the SNMP walk script. He says he ran it successfully but not able to find the output file, so we'll see if I can get Frank to come back to us on a quick answer with that one.
Awesome. Okay, I was gonna just grab from Christos for email delivery deliverability. If you're having any issues, if you haven't seen this, I was just gonna show you that we did add, this was in beta, and then we opened it up to all Syncro users, that if you want to bring your own SMTP, so you can hook up your own server and you have more control over your outbound customer facing emails. So I would recommend that. Let's see here. And then Justin wants to know, since we've been working remotely, any advice for the rest of us staying productive, cheerful, and sane? Well, we're all a little bit loopy, so I don't know if
I don't know about sane. I feel like I am so much more productive working remotely.
Yeah, I will say that like as a team, we use Slack, and staying in contact with the folks on our team is really important to me. Like I live, these ladies know, I'm like, always, I love it. It's my communication. It's like that grounding, like, oh, there's people out there, because it's hard. And so like for me, it's staying in communication that way.
And it's not all business. I mean, our Slack channels also have fun too. So I think, and based on hobbies and interests and things like that. And if you are alone and you don't have other, people in your office to work with, you can still connect with other people on channels like that. But I definitely think the communication and just kind of staying like involved Because if I don't hear from Tatiana for 4 hours, I'm like, where's Tatiana? You know, just kidding. But we do have fun during the day too. And we have things like this to look forward to.
Yes.
I think it's
keeps me
interesting.
sane.
We've been here remote since we've started. So for us, I feel like the world is catching up to what we've been doing for a long time. And I do think having the perspective that we were going to be remote when we got hired here from the beginning, it's not like a temporary situation, is super helpful too. There's a really cool Slack app if you guys are using, it's called Donut too. It kind of like pairs people in your guys's organization to where you can have one-on-one meetings, and it gives you like, topic discussion, things like that. I think, like the lady said, human connection, working together as a team and sharing any, stresses or anything that's bothering you about working remote, and just being open about it is super helpful.
And just join us on Fridays, and
There you go.
stay connected. Facebook.
Yes.
And Austin does have a serious question in here about not that your question wasn't serious. I like questions like that. About like feedback regarding the different versions of Splashtop. If any of you all, none of us have personal experience using Splashtop. So if anyone does have any recommendations on basically, cost and feature set, what you guys think has been the most beneficial for you, feel free to let us know that. We can also drop the KB. You've probably seen it, just about the different versions that we support and what we would recommend. But I don't even know the cost on those since they're not purchased through us. So that's a little bit difficult.
Look at this. You guys are all pitching in with that SNMP walk question. Thank you so much. Super helpful. I have 2 responses here. The first one is SNMP walk output file gets attached to the Syncro devices that the script was run on. So that makes sense. If you didn't run it across all your assets, it wouldn't be appearing on all of them. So if it's helpful, I can show you guys all the different ways to run a script. If that would be useful, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. We're actually over, so I will not do that. I just realized, what the heck, it's 10. I'll just real quick go with this one. Austin also says OID CSV from SNMP walk is listed under attachments when you go to the assets individual page, left side under the notes. So thank you so much to you guys both.
Awesome. And if we didn't get to all of your questions, I guess that just means you have to join us again next week, or of course, email one of us if you have any, if we didn't, answer any of your questions. But thank you so much for joining. This was an awesome open office hours. We will extend the thank you and gratitude to Frank because that was very helpful. This has been recorded. I did hit record, and we will post it on our YouTube channel. So thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
Thank you guys.
Bye.